time yet. All right, folks, we're here in Washington, D.C. If you're not familiar with the geography, there's the Smithsonian. There is the D.C. courthouse. I was just there. Congress is right there. And right here is Health and Human Services. This is the highest echelon of Health and Human Services in our nation. I've encouraged people to seek redress from HHS. If people are saying they're having problems with DCFS, CWS, it depends on where you're at, what they call it. But everybody's doing like a nationwide call to action. So I'm here in DC, and here we go. So, I mean, there is no higher, you can't go any higher than this asking for redress or for, you can't go any higher than this asking for redress or for somebody to intercede on your behalf. This would be the place you'd go. I mean, so I don't know. Many people file complaints to the OIG here. They went to be the place you'd go. I mean, so I don't know. Many people file complaints to the OIG here. They went to the, they file at the lower level at the county. So if you're in your county, for example, and you're having issues with DCFS or with CWS, you would go to either your county supervisors, the board of supervisors. You have to go to the foster care ombudsman, and more often than not, you'll be redirected down to the county level, which would be the director of Health and Human Services. In Napa, California, that's Jennifer Yasumoto, and the person who would be her subordinate for, at least for Child Welfare Services, or CWS, what they call it in Napa. Used to be CPS, Child Protective Services. Now it's CWS. There's also DCFS in some places, Department of Family Services, but they don't call it that in California. So here we are, folks. Hey, what's going on quickly? We are here at HHS. This is the highest echelon you can go. So down there at the level, like I said, for Health and Human Services, the director in Napa, California is Jennifer Yasumoto. She is one of the defendants in the federal action that's active in the Eastern District of Virginia, Richmond, in the case. Also a subject of the issue that's here in Washington, D.C. Also a subject of the issue that's here in Washington, D.C. So that would be Jennifer Yasumoto, the Director of Health and Human Services for the County of Napa, and her direct report would be Veronica Piper Jefferson, also a defendant in the federal action that's active against Napa, California right now from the Eastern District of Virginia. It's John Anaya versus Napa County et al. There is a writ of mandamus in the DC Circuit Court against the County of Napa, where I have asked the DOJ to compel action. Well, I've asked the court to intercede and ask that the DOJ compel or to prefer federal action against these defendants. But the defendant would be Jennifer Yasumoto. So some of y'all saw the video that I posted yesterday about going to the FBI and going to call down the marshals and the FBI down there in San Francisco. And I went to speak to the CEOs of Napa County's assistant, which would be Becky Craig, also a defendant in said litigation. What's going on, John Barber? How you doing? So I'll post the video today of the exchange between Becky Craig and I. As I was there, as I was leaving, an individual who I saw followed me through the building was Alfredo Laranaga, which is the ADA compliance officer for the County of Napa. He is also the risk assessment officer for Napa County and a defendant. You heard what he said, that he was aware of my circumstance. I explained to him, you can hear him in his own words, his own voice, that he said that he heard me saying I was going to the FBI and to the marshals the following day, which I did do. There's video of that. I was live. I was outside. They immediately went and filed for a restraining order to say that they felt threatened because of me protesting. They said I was protesting, but I was out on a street corner. You can see the video. It's here. From the year before, they were looking for a way to try to silence me from going to the FBI. It's crazy, man. Like, So that's what that video is. So you've read the restraining order for, that's Christine Briseño. Christine Briseño and Cheryl Bratton, both defendants also in the federal action. They were trying to figure out a way to stop me from going to the federal government, which in itself is a crime. You heard him say with his own mouth, oh, I'm aware of your circumstance, I know. They all knew. They knew they were all violating federal law by retaliating against myself. So by them doing so, they committed more crimes. And I came here to Washington, D.C. last year and to follow up on a congressional inquiry initiated by Congressman Mike Tompkins' office in Napa. I went to the FBI building. I went to the DOJ that day. This was early in the process where I didn't realize that standing outside some of these buildings or even going to certain buildings are not going to do you much good. So when people tell you, hey, we're going to go here and we're going to go do this, they're not letting you know because either they don't know or they just want you to show up, that these are all secured buildings. I brought you guys and showed you that. So if you file a complaint to the Inspector General for Health and Human Services here, or if you're a whistleblower and you are retaliated against and you file a complaint to the OSC, which is the Office of the Special Counsel, then that's who investigates whistleblower retaliation. But that's a secured building. This is a secured building. I was live when I went into that building and had this issue with the security guy because I came here and security said, oh, well, the OIG is not here. Well, you got to go over there. And when I went over there, like I said, I was live here. One of the security guys was, I don't know, he's acting up and he didn't want to let me through. But the lady was going to let me speak to to who fills the shoes of what's supposed to be an OIG. That makes no sense though, because if you go online to file a complaint with Health and Human Services, it says online, this is the Office of the Inspector General. That's like internal affairs for any agency. Most agencies are gonna have an OIG, an Inspector General. The Army has one. Everybody knows what the OIG is for the military, Navy, or whatever military. So if you're a state or a federal agency, they're going to have an Inspector General that's going to do internal investigations. So if you go online and you file a complaint with the OIG, how would there not be an OIG here? I made the video, I came here, they're like, well, we don't really have an OIG, and they sent me over there. So then who is answering the complaints that are filed online? If you are a parent and you've had your rights abridged at the lower level at the county, and you've gone to the state, and you're left chasing your tail, you find no redress. This is the highest you can go in our nation. These people can make a phone call. Poop don't roll downhill. I mean, uphill, it rolls downhill. This is the highest you can go. So these people have a duty to hold those lower agencies accountable. And I've told people, if you filed a complaint here and you found no redress, if they had a duty and they violated it, you walk down that street right there to that courthouse, you can file a writ of mandamus to ask the court, the DC Circuit Court, to compel this building and these federal employees and federal agency to asserting and to compel them to honor that duty. That's the only building, that's the only courthouse that can do that. The Supreme Court, that's not their job. People keep coming to DC here and they're going straight for the Supreme Court to file a writ of cert, a certiorari, however you say it, writ of mandamus, etc. The window is like this big. It's a 1% window to get in to the Supreme Court or to have them hear your case. I think there's something called the rule of four, where if 4 justices will say, hey, we're going to look at this, then the others have to. Still, very small window, especially when it comes to family law. There's very few exceptions where they've taken family law cases up into the Supreme Court. But it is the Supreme Court that is the only one that can afford you redress, that can modify a lower court's ruling if you are not able to successfully navigate an appeal. If you don't have $20,000, $30,000 and your rights have been abridged at the lower court, they bunker behind judicial immunity. I posted for you guys that thing that I found in North Carolina that speaks about judicial immunity, and it alleges that judicial immunity is not to protect the judges, it's to protect you. Because imagine if judges were being chased around having to combat litigation and everything, how could they effectively rule? But it leads with, even if the judge's ruling is erroneous or corrupt, so how would that be protecting a litigant if you're saying, if you're leading with, even if their ruling is corrupt or erroneous or does you some kind of harm, that they still have judicial immunity? How could that be in any way a protection for a litigant? Because, you know, if you, it should say, honestly, unless they are doing those things, right? I hope we all agree, is to say, hey, they have immunity unless you can prove that their ruling is erroneous or corrupt, or they're committing an act violating a civil right, etc. They have no judicial immunity for criminal actions. That's why I've asked the DC court to prefer action against them, because their conduct is exactly that. But what it says, the proper resolution or avenue is an appeal. But how many people here have filed an appeal and got no love at the Court of Appeals? Thank you, Steven. Thank you. Right? Because let's face it, the Court of Appeals is still, where do those judges from the Court of Appeals come from? They come from the lower courts, like Monique Langhorne to the First District Court of Appeals in San Francisco. She was the first judge on the Paul Pelosi case when he was arrested for the DUI that caused injury. Who took over? Joseph Solga. Joseph Solga finished out that case. He was that judge. But Monique Langhorne was promoted to the First District Court of Appeals. Gavin Newsom's father was promoted and retired from the First District Court of Appeals. He then took over the trust for the Getty family. John Paul Getty III, second, first, the billionaires, who Gavin Newsom, the governor, Gavin Newsom's father's son, obviously, is now the governor who picks the judges. A DUI takes place in Napa County. I'm going to post the excerpts from that I want you guys to focus on from the interview with Allison Haley the day that they did the first court of appeal. There was the court appearance on that day in Napa. There was a bunch of protesters. Allison Haley fed this narrative that does not align with the Highway Patrol press releases saying that, oh, anybody that has a DUI with an injury, with minor injury, gets a misdemeanor. The Highway Patrol press releases say otherwise. But Monique Langhorne was sent up to the First District Court of Appeals. Gavin Newsom's father retired from there. Gavin Newsom now picks the judges. He picked Joseph Solga, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's, for example, if you're navigating a battle at the lower court and you appeal it, you're just going to be sent up to their buddies. And then you go to a higher court. So the DC court here, they're not from wherever you're from. But if you go to the DC court, there's people from all over the country that are preferring action against places like HHS, because these are federal buildings. These are federal agencies that are federally funded. So ergo, it is reasonable if you've made the request to this building or any other building. There's the IRS, there's the EPA. Say you're a farmer down there and somebody's been using stuff and it goes into the watershed or whatever, and then you're like, hey man, and nobody does nothing down at the lower level because they got buddies, they got friends. And then you file a complaint to the EPA here, they don't do it. I'm just using that as an example. I'm not saying that's the circumstance. And then you get no redress. So then you would go to the DC court here and file a writ of mandamus to compel those people to do whatever duty that was owed to the citizen. Hey, what's going on, Rish? How you doing? So this Irish right here, folks, ladies and gentlemen, one of the parents from Napa. She's in some of the videos. She was in the courtroom when Gregory Carl Winter, attorney at law, suborned more perjury to the court. But this is it right here, folks. If you go online to the Health and Human Services website, it says file a complaint with the Office of the Inspector General. But if you come here, they're like, we don't have an OIG. They'll send you over there. So who is answering those complaints that people are making? That's why it's imperative. I implore you guys, prefer action if need be. If you haven't found any redress, nobody's more powerful when it comes to health and human services, child welfare services, CPS, DCFS, whatever, than the people in this building. Because then you file it in the federal court, they get served with the evidence, and they're going to see, Because if you just go online and you're like, hey, man, this is going on down here, they kick it over to the legal department, and the legal department's like, yeah, we got nothing for you. And you find no redress. Now, when you file it into a federal record with the court, they are served. They are now defendants. So they have to respond. They have 60 days to respond once they've had it. You've given them the evidence. I've came here before, made a video. A lady came down and said that once you serve them, you also serve the counsel for this. I can't remember the term that they use, but today, right, is supposed to be the last few days. People have been doing this call to action across the country for parents that have had their rights abridged, people that are suffering out there, people that are desperately trying to get into the Supreme Court, trying to get their cases heard before the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court does have the power to overturn those rulings at the lower court. And I always talk to the parents and say, look, man, you have to go. Some people will say, oh, well, somebody told me that's not going to work. Well, that thing may be something that you must do in order to get here, or to get there, or to get to the Supreme Court. You got to write a checklist. Like, okay, did I go to here? Did I go to the county level? Did I go to the state? Did I go to federal? So I've exhausted all of those. I went to the state, to the county, to the ombudsman, to the California First District Court of Appeals, to the California Supreme Court. What does that mean? That means now I'm proper to be before the Supreme Court should they decide to take it up. So that's when you file your request for review. Very small window, 1%, right? So sometimes you have to think outside the box. If I have a 1% window there, but I have a much larger window right there at the DC court to get the people that had the duty to perform that duty, doesn't that make a little bit more sense? I mean, I'm just saying. There's a lot of people that I've met along this, and they have good hearts, and their intention is genuine, and it's honorable. But sometimes, I'm here. I come here to DC for y'all. If you guys need me to go somewhere, go to your representative. I've told y'all I will go, and I will read your issue right in front of them. I'm not going to do nobody's fight for them. You got to do your own fight. Some people want us to just like pick up their stuff and then run with it. You got to do that. It's your responsibility, your duty. So the only thing I can do is show people and help, but in that sense. But sometimes people are just like dropping the bag and saying, hey, can you pick this up and carry it? When you're already carrying a whole lot of bags, and it becomes exhausting. So you have a duty to fight. So all I'm trying to do, I have an active case in DC right now. I've done exactly what I'm telling you guys to do. I've done that thing. But we are filing a writ of cert at the Supreme Court. My case is definitely unique. As you can see by the video, they knew. I don't have to prove that these people were unalived. Anybody can Google it. I don't have to prove to Mark Bossnecker, this judge in Napa, that said, oh, well, you got to prove that in writing when it was sitting right in front of them, or you got to bring in human testimony. So what Mark Bossnecker is saying is I have to bring in federal agents for him, when that's not how it works. But now he has to explain that to the federal court here in Virginia. Like, why did you tell that guy he's got to do that? And why did you tell him he needs something in writing to give to you when you had it right there in front of you? And why did I have that in front of them? But because of the abuse of the machinery that they have tolerated incessantly from the beginning. They've consistently allowed Gregory Carl Winter and an employee of none other than Health and Human Services, who's directly connected. I got the photographs, the pictures, the DOJ criminal history. I have everything. They've seen it all. I was just in court yesterday, and I told the judge, I said, are you guys going to keep allowing this dude to put my sons and myself in danger? They know. The judges know. Everybody knows. The fire that's being investigated in Napa County. The party who may potentially have been responsible for the fire because of their disregard for the law and the rules that they enforce. It's the chief judge of Napa County, retired. Now that presiding judge is Scott Young. Do you know who the assistant presiding judge is? Joseph Solga. Joseph Solga is the one we have the most evidence is a non-honest and a non-honorable arbiter. That's the guy, but he's like, hey, I'm sure inside of his mind, he did a favor for Gavin Newsom and for the Pelosi's. So he's just like, yeah, when I told him, I'll see you in federal court, he's like, yeah, sure, cool, whatever, man. He didn't care because he knows how insulated he is. But he's not insulated here because it's a federal, if you commit a federal crime, you have no judicial immunity. There is none. So people keep saying that they're observing crimes being carried out in the courtrooms. Okay, well, if you can prove it, then you prefer action and they have no immunity. And the DOJ can actually do what the DOJ needs to do. But if you're just saying you have it and you're sitting on it and doing nothing, I don't know what the expectation. They can't do nothing without evidence. So if you say you have it and you're sitting there and doing nothing with it, then it's either it ain't true or I don't know. What is something broken? Is it your foot? Is it your car broke down? Is your computer terminal not working? Is the internet down? What is stopping you from preferring action? So we are here at Health and Human Services. This is the highest echelon of DCFS, CPS, all these agencies that people seem to have conflict with. So reach out to the OIG, see what they can do. There is a whole new batch of people now. Even at the DOJ, you've seen that the Civil Rights Division has been pretty much wiped clean almost, and they're restoring and refilling those positions. The Civil Rights Department or division of the DOJ, many people reached out to them and got like a nothing burger back. And I will say I am one of those people. I came here in person, but I recently was contacted by the new the replacements, as it were. So they are filling the position. The DOJ is definitely in tune with the fact that the last time maybe people weren't doing what they should have. That's that duty. So if you are disabled, if you are you have a legitimate disability and you are entitled to rights and protections by the Americans with Disability Act, whether it's Title II or whatever, and you filed a complaint to the DOJ Civil Rights Division and there was no redress, that's what the writ of mandamus is. That's when you'd be like, okay, hey, I'm entitled to this protection. These people violated my rights. You ask the DC court to then compel whatever that action or that redress is that you seek. People think that if we come here, people care, and there are some people that care, but for the most part, what I've experienced, and I've came here a lot, what I've seen is kind of just like oh, what? You guys are going through that? Serious? Oh man, that's terrible. We didn't know. And then when they do know, well, what do? So people have flown in from all over the country, Mandy and Meg and different people from all over the country. And we went to the elected officials. People read the complaints. Shout out to the people from Oklahoma, Texas, all across the country. People that are just asking for what rights and privileges they are afforded by the United States Constitution, their state constitutions, and the law. The statutory language of the law. Laws like Family Code 2030 in California, which are codified, and they have removed all of the judicial discretion from the arbiters. They once had discretion, a lot of it. They removed all of it. There's certain codified laws that they removed the judicial discretion to protect the litigants because it was being abused. And now we have abuses of things like the DVPA, which again, were intended to protect people which are being abused. And people go here or they ask HHS to do something at the lower level and nothing is being done. They are kind of running, they've had these things at Congress and they've said that they have done their investigative work and they do agree, they concur that there has been some abuses. So that's a huge step in the right direction. I'm going to talk to you guys about a case that's going on right here in Napa, California right now. There's a guy worth about $2.1 million. He lives in Madrid, Spain. And while we were waiting to go to court, we were watching the back and forth with the judge, which is Keisha Lynn. And with this individual, this man worked like $2.1 million. He's in this divide with this female. And he told the judge, Your Honor, I'm on the other side. I live in Spain. This is California. That's like I think it's a 9-hour difference. And she was saying, no, you have to be here in court tomorrow. He's like, Your Honor, I have an interview tomorrow. I have 2 interviews. And she says, well, how long could... They were like 4-hour interviews. This guy isn't like your run-of-the-mill litigant here. He's on a different level than what we are. Obviously, if his assets are roughly 2.1 million. So he told her, like, the time difference, that would be like 1 a.m. for me, something like that. And so she said, you better be here tomorrow. Well, the next day they had the hearing. He wasn't there. And so they had the other person. They said, well, are you afraid of this guy? Are you afraid of him? It's like they were leading the individual. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. He lives in Madrid, Spain. How far is that from Napa? And so this is what's being abused in these lower courts is the DVPA, which was supposed to protect people, but is being weaponized against litigants, mothers, fathers, and otherwise, that when you need a leg up, some people abuse that, and the attorneys are abusing it. And unfortunately, so are the people who wield the machinery of justice, these officers of the court that are taking a hand in this. And we have the proof, right? We have the proof. And so these arbiters that have had hand in hand in this, could you imagine that? Somebody saying that they're afraid of you, and you live in Spain and they're in Napa, California. That's what they did to this guy, but that's how they're doing it in Napa, to seize control of people's assets. If they have money and they want it, they're using these civil actions, which have a lower burden of proof. Because it's unfortunate in California, all somebody has to do is say something, and if the arbiter feels some kind of way, all the rights go out the window. And if you look up the case Counterman versus Colorado, go to YouTube and type in Counterman versus Colorado oral arguments. That case, you can hear what the justices were saying. They were expressing concerns that people's liberty interest is having a chilling effect because people are abusing these lower thresholds and these lower burdens of proof, and then segueing up into criminal. So, because in criminal conduct, there's a higher threshold, a higher burden of proof. But in these civil battles, custody battles, family court, whatever, it's much lower. And so they're abusing that lower threshold to then press people into criminality with no proof, no burden met, no beyond a reasonable doubt, no clear and convincing. They're manipulating the burden of proof. So if there's an officer of the Inspector General right here, who's manning it? Because many times we've came here and they said, oh, we don't have an OIG. But go on the website for Health and Human Services for the Inspector General and look it up. So who the heck is manning that? So when people file complaints and say, hey, I'm getting the hatchet down here at the county level, the state's not helping, what can you guys do? You'll get a response more often than not, hey, yeah, we can't do anything. It went over to the legal department. Well, once that's happened, that's when you can go to the DC District Court right here and say, hey, look, this is the evidence. This is what they saw. This is the duty. This is the duty that was failed. These people are in a federal building that it's right here in DC, talking about jurisdiction. Because if you're trying to establish jurisdiction and you fail, well, say goodbye to whatever your argument is from the outset, right? But federal funding, federal building, federal employees. So if you can prove that the duty failed, then you have at least a chance in the DC court here. I'm there right now with a different agency. As you guys know, my first wife's father was taken by force and unalived in San Diego by the people that our wonderful nation is at odds with right now. And they're out there standing on business trying to protect the community and the people. For that reason, there's employees at the lower level in Napa County. That would be Jennifer Yasumoto, the Director of Health and Human Services for Napa. She knows about the FBI. She knows about the unalivings. She knows that I volunteered to the United States, and they did nothing to protect my son. Nothing. I was like, hey, man, my son is being taken down into the area of operations. Do you guys understand how dangerous that is? Could you imagine if that was your circumstance where you're like, hey, man, don't take my son down to these places. It's extremely dangerous. The most lethal city on the planet was Tijuana and the Frontera, and the front. That means the front, like the area between the United States and America. What's up, John Sanford? How you doing, brother? Right? So I had to beg them and plead with them when I'm not supposed to. Then they went into self-protection mode and started to get criminal, right? So they knew not only was my son being taken into those places, a CPS worker who I'm married to was taking my son down into those places with her brother, who was actively engaged in the very same sophisticated criminal conduct that cost my first wife's father his life by those people, and more than likely with those people and taking our son into the Frontera. So I was like, hey man, you guys got to do something. Anytime I did, I was threatened with divorce, and there was all this, like I got all this in writing. I have the videos, I have it all. So what Napa County did, one of the things that they do is if somebody speaks out against what they're doing, they weaponize the machinery. They'll start off with something civil, and then you keep fighting them, they'll segue it over to criminal. And if you fight them in criminal, like I said, they kick in Allison Haley and her subordinates. We found so many people that have been on the business end of this abuse of the machinery. The same thing, Allison Haley mailing summons to people's residence that she knows they're not at. I came here to DC, and had I not been hit by that lady that night, I wouldn't have known that Allison Haley did that to me. So can you imagine, you're here, you drive all the way across country to bury your brother. Then you drive up to DC to come to the DOJ. And then you get hit that night. And you make a video the next day, but you're talking about deposition, deposing the judges, preferring civil action through a 42 USC 1983, and then Allison Haley goes and prefers charges against you in Napa to try to stop you. So had that lady not hit me, I wouldn't have known. Talk about God being in your corner, right? Because I would have walked right into a trap. I would have showed up for visiting my son, and that's what once they got you in their little enclave, you're toast. So that's what Allison Haley does with her power. But if you go to her website, I'm going to do an excerpt of that video from the day that Paul Pelosi had I think it was his first day in court, maybe for arraignment. Now, he did a 977 motion, which is the attorney shows that he didn't even show up to the court. And at that press conference, she alluded to the fact that she said, one of the reporters asked her, did you donate money to Monique Langhorne's campaign? And she minimized it immediately. It was like $50, It was a yes or no question. Did you or did you not donate money to Monique Langhorne's campaign? Now, I want you guys to look at what I posted yesterday. Monique Langhorne and Allison Haley were both part of the Napa Women's Attorney Group or Club. So there's a lot of these judges, district attorneys, and attorneys that are part of this club. Does that not sound like a conflict of interest to some people? That there's a special club for the district attorney and for presiding judges in the county of Napa? Then we have a judge that's the chief judge, the presiding judge, who is ruling in cases that would benefit her husband's company. Not that he owned the company, but he was upper echelon. Woodbridge owns the company. Woodbridge owns 100 acres. But Cynthia Pillsbury Smith's husband was one of the main dudes there at that winery. Yet she maintained her position in those proceedings. There's a woman named Stephanie Johnson who started making a big old fuss about it. Stephanie Johnson is now facing like 4 criminal charges. Yes, Allison Haley did the same thing. She mailed a summons to where she knew. The lady was homeless at that point. She had a successful business that was making $600,000-$700,000 a year. A boat, all that stuff, gone. Left her homeless. And so they knew that. That's how they get down. The people that wield the power there in Napa, they're abusing the bench to retaliate against parents that stand up. And this isn't just happening in Napa. It's happening all over the country. But when we go to the people who have a duty, who are paid exceptionally and benefits, and then you ask for them to do something, to intercede on your behalf, what's done? Where's the cavalry? Where is the OIG? Should we go in there again and ask where the OIG is? You guys could all open up your computer right now, go to HHS website, and it'll say there's an OIG. But if you come here, may I speak to the OIG? Oh, we don't have an OIG. You'll get sent over there. And then they're like, well, we don't technically have that. So why would they have? So that means somebody else is at the helm of the OIG position. So when parents across the country are asking for redress, where is the Inspector General? Therefore, you may file a writ of mandamus with the DC court and ask the DC court to look at the evidence and compel the people in this building to do whatever duty it is that's owed. If your rights are being abridged, if your children have been taken, man, I wish you guys, man, now I don't wish you guys could have to hear the hurt and the pain that I've sat here with parents and met people that are suffering, and the stories that I've heard. I don't care how tough you are or whatever, man, it just kicks you right in the stomach, man. And where's the cavalry? Where's the people who have a duty to protect our most vulnerable populations? The children. Where are they at? So, I guess today and the last few days, everybody's been doing this nationwide call to action. So when I tell you guys I'm putting my life on the line for this movement and this group, that's not hyperbolic, man. That's unfortunately, that's the circumstance that I find myself in. These people took somebody. I used to be married. I was a peacekeeper. I brought you guys along the ways so you can meet my wonderful brothers. We deployed to go protect human life. We were sent to honestly, we feel some kind of way when we hear people talk about civil war and all this other stuff. Man, I don't think they really understand what that entails, man. The suffrage. That means our children would be wrapped up in that horrible circumstance. And we've had to witness that up close, and we were fortunate enough to be sent to stop that. And it's an honor and a privilege to have changed the chronology of history on a global scale with these individuals. But then later, my brothers would be deployed to combat operations, and we suffered a significant loss. So I got to go to Pennsylvania over the weekend. We had our reunion up there, but it's a consistent reminder of how I got here, because we deployed to go protect other people. But if we ask for help here, sometimes we're found wanting. Now there's a new administration. There's a whole, there's an opportunity for people that may not have been doing their job to be replaced. And it seems like that's what's happening at multiple agencies. But the OIG issue here is significant because these people are the highest, most powerful people in that dynamic. They can pick up the phone and call down to wherever you're at, San Antonio, wherever, and be like, hey, why am I being dragged into court over here? Because you guys are failing down there. I saw the evidence. It's right here in front of me. Now I got to go explain this. The Chief Justice already saw it. What's going on down there? Fix this, right? Doesn't that make sense? But see, you only protect food. Can you tell? Can you see? I protect it by consuming the food. Hyperbole, like Biden says. I don't know. Oh, thank you. I love you guys too. God bless you guys. I don't know if the guy was calling me fat by saying I only protect food. I don't know. If you guys, if it's banter or sass or criticism, at least try to make it understandable so I can explain what it is. But if you mean by deploying to Kosovo, before we got there, there's stories I can't even tell you guys of what was happening to them before we arrived. And we got there, and the people who were on the business end, they had guerrilla fighters, the UCPMB and the TMK and all that, and they were fighting the best they could, but they were fighting against the Serbian army. And there was ethnic cleansing going on. And the people, unfortunately, that were on the business end were under the false impression that now that we were there, NATO troops in the U.S., that we were there to allow them to go do these things. And if you take human life, we were coming for you, and we did. And we arrested them. See, cannibalism, I don't know. So, the honor and duty to protect other people, but then you come into the Napa court where these people that are lining their pockets with money, like tens of thousands of dollars, like Christine Briseño, I think she's paid $21,000 or $22,000 a month. That's insanity. Same thing with Allison Haley. I think her pay is $35,000 a month. But yet Allison Haley is the director or the president of the District Attorneys Association for California, some ethics thing. She's the vice president or something of the If Given a Chance. She's part of the Napa Women's Attorneys Group. How can one person who's paid so much of the taxpayers' money be part of all these other groups and give the appropriate attention that the county needs? And why did she allow Alfonso Ortiz to walk when he was caught, obviously doing something he wasn't supposed to do? But yet, when parents are out there saying, hey, this ain't right, this isn't proper, well, then Allison Haley fires up that old machinery of justice and she goes and gets busy. We're just starting right here at Health and Human Services. If you're just joining, we'll be going to the White House here pretty soon. We'll be outside. We'll do a podcast. We'll get more into detail on that. But as you can see where we are, there's Congress. The White House is right there. Health and Human Services. And right down the street is the DC court. That's where I had to go first. Hey, Mondo, how you doing, brother? Thank you for the like, Tommy, everybody, Manuel, Velez. There's a lot of people today. Matrubal, only protect food. Thank you. God bless you guys. Let me see here. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate you. Todd, Big Dog, user, a whole bunch of numbers. Boss Lady, how you doing, Mama? God bless you. So, I hope everybody watches that video. The man in the video is Alfredo Laranaga. He is the ADA compliance officer for the county of Napa. He's also the risk assessment officer for the county of Napa, which is bizarre because you can hear what he says. Oh no, it was a misunderstanding. I showed up. I made it. There's another video. I showed up and this guy said, hey, you can't be in this building. I was like, what? That's where you pay your water, your taxes, your property taxes. That's where code enforcement's at. So there's a lot of business you may have in that building. And I was like, why? Because it's 4th of July week. And he said, no, you. And he's like, you're in the security book. And so I was like, go get it. He's like, I don't have the keys. He says the dude will have the keys and come back in like 10 minutes. So I went to the car, come back. The dude's there. And I said, hey, man, you can watch the video. You can hear it. I'm like, hey, man, am I in some book? I was told I'm in a book. I just want to confirm whether it's me or not. And sure enough, he goes and gets the book, and you can see that I'm in there. And so I was like, well, why? What did I do? And so that dude, Alfredo Laranaga, he's given so many different narratives for why I was placed there. You can hear the exchange between myself and Becky Craig. Both Becky Craig and Alfredo Laranaga are defendants in the 42 U.S.C. 1983 that's preferred against the county of Napa by myself from the Commonwealth here to California. The county of Napa is represented by not one but two law firms. One, Porter Scott out of Sacramento, and then this Ryan J. Starks in Richmond, Virginia here. They are seeking to deny jurisdiction when they've consistently abridged my rights from all the way across the country. Like I said, I came here to DC. I brought you guys with me. I was at the DOJ. I went to the FBI building. And then Allison Haley, she's like, we got to stop this guy before he gets us in some trouble. But by her doing that, and by them doing that with the help of Robert Stamps, who is also a defendant in this action, who they're seeking to deny jurisdiction here. They're claiming failure to state a claim. Well, that's horse poo. But they're also seeking to bunker behind judicial immunity. But their conduct, because the cartel is now identified as a different group. They're now identified as FTOs, FTGs, whatever you want to call them, foreign threat organizations. International, was it I can't remember, international threat groups, transnational, there we go. So the cartel is no longer just organized crime. Lindsey Graham tried to change that. Mitt Romney tried to change that because he has a lot of his families down in Mexico, and they've been dealing with the cartel for some time. Some of you may have saw when his family was ambushed in Mexico as a result, a convoy of women and children, and it was an intentional attack. And then there was 3 people that were snatched by the cartel, and I think it was Juarez. And Lindsey Graham at that point also tried to change the identifier for the group as to put it under the FTGs. That changes everything. That's when you can do like that boat that was out in the water that everybody's some people are for it, some people are against it, but that's the difference right there. That's when cartel people can be, how do you say, enhanced interrogation techniques and blah 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 blah. Tier 1 operators, the CIA, which the CIA normally operates outside. FBI handles in-house stuff, but it changes these groups to a different thing. So as a result of that executive order, all those counter T laws are in effect. So if anybody operated against those groups and then somebody's trying to willfully, intentionally place them in harm's way for that then changes the dynamic of those laws. So what these judges and what my spouse, who was arrested for trafficking for those people before she worked for Health and Human Services for the county of Napa, now it changes that dynamic because their perjury, their willful, intentional, overt acts now fall into that category. That's a huge federal violation, and there's no judicial immunity. So now whether or not the United States shall prefer action against them, that's what remains to be seen. But you can watch the videos. You can see this attorney and that judge that likes to do political favors for the Pelosi's and Gavin Newsom, he likes to play the game in the courtroom. And when I told him what you're doing can cause a lethal outcome, he says, just thumbs his nose at it. So now they have to explain, and they're struggling right now to explain. Plays the song, Lowe's Brand, if you like this song. Okay, sounds like a nice song. They have to explain to the federal court because it's federal judges that actually put these people in jail. They don't play games with them. They don't pander to organized crime, to the mafias, and to the cartels. So they're...
Can we move right over here so we got people parking?
Oh, yeah, sure. Can you what?
Can you walk over here for me? We got
sure.
Park here.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Thank you. I just want to get my car. Thank you.
Yeah. So the federal judges actually are the ones who put these people in jail. They put them in federal custody. So it's going to be a mystery to them that why is the lower court doing favors and using the very robe that they all wear to undo crimes for federal criminals. One of the people is being charged and prosecuted by the DOJ right now with organized crime. Yet he walks into a courtroom in Napa with the social worker from HHS, CPS, whatever you want to call it, and one of the judges undoes the crime of bigamy, which that means you're married to 2 people at the same time, which these 2 individuals were. They were arrested in San Diego for conducting sophisticated criminal conduct on behalf of the same cartel responsible for all this taking of human life. Interesting. So the federal court's going to more than likely they have to make this choice. Like, okay, we're all judges. Your name says honorable this. Your name says honorable this. But is it really honorable for judges to use that robe to do favors for organized crime or FTOs? I don't think it is. But see, they thought they were going to get away with it. They thought, nobody's looking. Nobody's looking. And then when I came forward because they were placing my son in harm's way, they thought, okay, we're going to shut this dude up. Everything that we've done to other people, the little playbook that we use, the PC 1368, these falsified restraining orders that they do to silence people, that ain't going to work. Because what they're doing is they're committing federal offenses by doing so. And it's a crime for them to do it to anybody. But when you willfully, intentionally target somebody who was an asset for the DOJ, that's a unique crime within itself. And now because 2025, the new administration modified and changed the identifiers of the group. That makes it providing material support to FTOs. That's a whole different game right there. That's national intelligence right there. And when people are on the border and they're fighting the cartels and they're trying to keep the poison out of here, that's what it is. It's national security. I said national intelligence, I meant national security. My apologies. So if it's CBP, it used to be Border Patrol and Customs and everything, and then INS was all separate. Then they got all pulled in under the under DHS, under Department of Homeland Security, which, hey, that's them right there. Woo! So their job is protecting the homeland, as it were. So if there's people that are on the border battling the cartel and trying to plug the holes and keep the people away from doing the things, well, then that is national security. What they do is they provide a service. What's going on, boss? How you doing?
My name's Dennis, man.
Pleased to meet you, sir.
Good to meet you.
Likewise.
What's y'all here doing today?
I'm just, nationwide parents are like doing a call to action today to just talk about their grievances. I'm a former CHS for Department of Homeland Security. My first wife's father, when I was in the Army, was kidnapped and murdered by the cartel. I operated for you guys. All that has been made public in the county of Napa. My wife works for this agency, and so I have action preferred over in the DC court with Honorable Bondi and Kash Patel and with Janine Pirro. You can look it up, John Anaya versus the DOJ, John Anaya versus County of Napa et al. So I'm just out here making the video. We're talking about many of the people, they filed complaints to the OIG here. There is no OIG. So we're now preferring action at the DC court here. But
Wait, let me back up. You said your wife works here?
No. She's in California.
Okay.
Yeah, but this agency is responsible for oversight. And so we've came here before, we've made videos and asked for redress. So am I within compliance of the law though? I'm not.
So here's what's going on. So right now, you're not really violating any laws.
Yeah.
But when you're out here talking on the bullhorn, causing a disturbance.
I haven't used it.
So that's just telling you what's been reported.
Yes, sir.
Then it turns into possibly breaking the law.
Yes, sir. But no, I've been on video the whole time. I haven't used
I believe you. I'm
Yeah.
just telling you why we were called.
Yeah.
Okay?
No, I know. I've been over to, everybody knows me here. They told me don't aim it towards buildings, and they even gave me the map to show me where you can use the megaphone and where you cannot. That's why I'm just using my voice here right now. I'm actually going to head over to the White House with to go over there. I got a little chair.
Do you have your ID on you?
I don't. It's in my car.
What's your name, man?
John Anaya.
John what?
John Anaya.
That's your first name?
No, that's my first and my last.
Your last.
Yes, sir.
How do you spell your last name?
Alpha November, Alpha Yankee, Alpha. I come up here all the time. Like, yeah. How you doing, brother?
J-O-N?
Yes, sir.
What's your date of birth, man?
I'm on the thing right here.
You want to write it down for me?
Yeah, can I do that? Yeah. Like I said.
You got a driver's license, sir?
Yeah, here I go. Yeah.
Are you local? You live local?
I live in Virginia. Yeah. Like I said, I was a CHS for your guys' agency. My father-in-law was killed by the cartel. That's why I'm here. Just at the DC court just a little while ago. I have a writ of mandamus here active with Honorable Bondi, and I'm here to follow up. I haven't used the megaphone, so I don't know who said I use a megaphone, but I haven't.
I'm just saying, that's what. So,
Yeah.
this is what I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
So, they got some people coming here for a meeting.
Oh, yeah, I'm about to leave right now.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to cause a problem.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, because they want this area clear.
No problem.
All right.
Yeah. That you guys were told me that.
Yeah.
I'm going over to the White House anyways. I go do the podcast over there. Like I said, I don't even use the megaphone unless I need to. I do it up there. I try to go by the rules and follow everything, cross all the T's and dot all the I's. Cool?
Cool, man.
Yeah. But I swear I didn't use a megaphone, brother.
I got you.
And you can look up my name.
YouTube?
Pardon?
You got YouTube?
I do. I got it's called the permission statement. But if you Google my name, John Anaya versus DOJ, or John Anaya versus County of Napa et al., you'll see everything. I volunteered after I left the Army because they killed my first wife's father. So I volunteered to DHS. So that's 2004.
What's your voice?
11 Bravo.
11 bang bang.
Yeah, 11 Bang Bang. So 4 years later, I volunteered to DHS. I started off a cold case homicide in San Diego after they whacked my first wife's dad. And then I was outsourced to DHS and to other agencies, and we were on the border. That's why I'm here. That's what's in. If you Google that, look up John and I versus DOJ. I've asked for Honorable Bondi and Mr. Patel to prefer action. They exposed me in Napa. They gave up my identifier, everything. They made that all public record now. So Honorable Bondi, today is the day where they have the day to respond. I swear I wasn't on the megaphone. I was just out here talking, man.
But you say you're leaving anyway. It's all
Yeah. I was just gonna do a little quick one. All the people are here. I go over and I hang out with the Secret Service guys and just do my little video.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Take care, brother.
You too, brother. God bless you guys.
Thanks.
So as you can see, folks, somebody said that I was on the megaphone, which that's not true. That's unfortunate. But hey, I mean, the next stop, like I told you guys, it's the White House, because I guess they got VIPs here and they don't want somebody out talking. But I mean, I've been live the whole time and the video's recording. I never once used the megaphone or yeah, it's called a megaphone. Some people call it a bullhorn. But so we went to the DC court. We've been here. Next stop is going to be the White House. So I hope you guys will join me over there. We're going to go live. Yeah. So now you understand why I'm here. When I say think outside the box, you guys now know everything. And unfortunately, it was never like this. I was minding my own business in Napa. I was doing wine tours. I wasn't doing no harm to nobody, trying to live my life in peace. But my spouse, who's an employee for this agency, kept demanding that I travel into the area of operations. That's a highly dangerous potential outcome. I see what it is. They got VIPs coming in right now, and they don't want somebody outside. But y'all heard it. He said that somebody said I was on the megaphone, which I wasn't. So, anywho, all right. So we're gonna go over to. There's a whole bunch of like tables set up out there, and there's people that do water. But I'll be spending most of the day over there. So these gentlemen were cool as a fan. I get what they got to do, man. They got a job. I don't cause no problems for people here. I came here. Today is the day that the DOJ makes a decision on whether or not to prefer action against the county of Napa for their criminal conduct. So it is important. And what I did, most people won't understand it. Most people do not volunteer. Very few people volunteer to go after some of the most dangerous people with the United States. That they don't do it. Most people are forced into it, more likely because they were doing something they weren't supposed to, and they're looking for a way to either save their butt or something. So it's extremely unique, and unfortunately, it makes it more egregious what's been done to me here. Thank you. If it wasn't for the president changing the identifier, I mean, why has it taken this long to change the identifier of the group of the cartels? Why has it taken so long? But when the president came in that night, he went straight to work and he changed the identifier of that group, making it a whole different circumstance. So once he did that, that means every asset that the United States has can be used to hold these people accountable. They can use CIA. They can use tier 1 operators. That's Delta, Navy SEALs, all those people that would love to defend our country as opposed to being sent to foreign lands. That's the ideal circumstance. So I hope you guys tap back in with me here shortly. We're going to head over to the White House. A lot of you guys asked questions about that red building. I was in the DC court this morning, and I was asking the U.S. Marshal guys, like, what's the difference in this building? Because they do have appeals courtrooms in the DC court. And so when I went over there with Adam that day, I got the impression that that's the appellate court. but that's the appellate court for a U.S. court or something. It's not the same. Which so here in D.C. you have the Supreme Court, you have U.S. District Court, and whatever that is. So I'm gonna go start asking more questions about that because I'm still trying to figure out what is the difference. What's the difference between that red building? Let's see. I'm holding accountable on customs immigration. So shout out to you, brother. I was with my brothers this weekend, so I didn't have an opportunity to tap back in with you. I'm going to do that research for you today. So everybody that's asked questions about that red building that's near the White House, here we go.